what does that initial intake process look like? And Kayla, I want to hear from you on this as well, because I just want to know, when somebody comes to you with a video idea, kind of where do you start with them in terms of your process? How do you kind of distill down what they really want to accomplish? Haley, let's start with you first.
Sure. Okay. So usually there's a concept that's already been developed before they bring me in. So it will either be, a meeting one-on-one with the client, or the client, the filmmaker. Sometimes it's just the filmmaker. It depends really. But they'll present me the concept. So I find out, what we're writing about. They usually have something rough that's already scratched out that I can bounce off of. So I'm almost never starting completely from scratch. There's always, some kind of a concept that's already at play. And so, it usually, one or two meetings and a dump of whatever information they have, and then I can run with it and start drafting from there.
Yeah, that sounds like a very similar approach I take. It's just kind of, let's see what they have in mind first, and then how can we maybe massage it a little bit, to run with it. Kayla, what about you? Is your process similar?
It depends on exactly what you're looking at, because sometimes it's the process is a little more extensive than you realize. So there's more questions that need to be asked. You might need more equipment, and is there budget for that equipment? So there's all these questions to be asked, because it goes from pre-production to, let's go from the nitty-gritty, and also do I have enough manpower to make this work? Those questions need to be asked too. Is it just a one-man band? Is it just myself and a videographer? Do I also have a production coordinator? All these questions, because that also gives you a sense of how long it's going to take for you to execute. All these things fall into place, but essentially it's starting from the beginning of, do I have everything that I need? And then going with the vision, and then you get your beautiful process. But I think sometimes when you're working with people who aren't well-versed in production, it can be tricky. So I think the more the merrier when it comes to getting all your questions answered, and not feeling like, oh, am I asking too many questions? No, you're asking what you need to get the job done. And also for everyone to be happy at the end of the day, and to get the kind of content that you really want to walk away with on both sides.
I think that's something a lot of us as writers and as freelancers struggle with, is, am I asking too many questions? But we do need that clarification to make sure that we're on the right track. We're not mind readers, so it's good to ask those clarifying questions. Do you ever, Kayla, stand in or offer the service of being the production coordinator when there isn't one already?
So I have had experience doing this once with a live stream production. And so this was my first time working with this startup, and I loved the idea of the project. So I was really excited to work on it. But, it was one of those things where I just had to, sacrifice and just do the extra work. But being that I had such a great relationship after pulling this off and working with, the team, I was able to advocate for a production coordinator because they wanted me on for their next project. And I was also able to hire them and look for that person myself. So that makes it a little better to have that type of agency and the type of relationship with whomever you're working with. And so I think that's also important too, just kind of building a good relationship with the team, for sure.
Absolutely. And speaking of the team, I think video projects are sometimes more complicated than written projects, simply because you might have more stakeholders. You might have the on-camera talent, the producers, the editors, maybe a marketing team. So you do have a lot more personalities to manage, maybe. And that's something a lot of us really shy away from as freelance writers. We just don't want to have all that personality management. So how do you, as a writer, how do you manage that collaboration, or set boundaries around your role? How do you protect the integrity of your copy when everybody has an opinion? What do you do, Kayla?
Yeah, I think it's interesting going from, or just understanding the mechanics of things when you're working with team, to going freelance and in that independent aspect of things. But I think on the bright side of it is, I think on the other side, they appreciate how structured you are. They're like, oh, I don't have to really explain much. They really get it. And so I think on one end, you might think you're being a little too organized or direct, but on the other end, it helps. I think thinking of it as helping, just helping the process go smoother and like helping the editor on the other side, right? Essentially, you're helping them stay on task and whatever updates that you need to give them. They might be asking updates, but if they're not asking for updates, being proactive about the process, your drafts, your writing, whatever you need, any clarifying questions, it helps speeds up the process because for one, we also know that the sooner that your project gets done, the sooner you get paid. You don't want to prolong the question and then you're held up on multiple ends. So I think it's just approaching it from a proactive self-starter in just manner is the best way to go about it, which I think we all do because most of us in this room are on more of the senior end. So I think it's something that we can get the gist of.